This is a review of the app called Molecules by Sunset Lake Software. As Drew Barry stated in his TED Talk, molecules are really, really tiny. So what I was looking for was a biology app to help make molecules more accessible to students in various ways, both visually and understanding the chemical structure of them. After originally taking a look at some biology apps in class, I decided to Google the Molecules app for the iPad and download it from the iStore. After going to the App Store, Molecules is free, so that's obviously bonus number one for education, so I could get all these for the iPads for free. I downloaded it, just take a look and investigate it a little bit. When you first open the app, the first molecule you see is DNA. Now, this DNA double helix for many is a very intricate molecule that you might not have recognized if it was just sitting there. However, one of the really cool things about this app is that when you hit this button right here, the molecule will spin and it gives you a three-dimensional view of the molecule. Now, had you not known that was DNA, all you'd have to do is very simply push the molecules button and it will identify not only DNA itself, but also will give you the structure and the number of atoms in it. As you look at the model and identify it by its molecular name, you can go to the right hand side and click on the palette to give you the color key of each individual element. So as you see in this model, you not only have blue, nitrogen, you also have oxygen and carbon and even some phosphorus, which build that DNA helix. This particular part will be extremely helpful for students because many of them don't know what elements actually compose each molecule. So all they have to do is look at the color on the three-dimensional model, match it up, and then they can start to figure it out from there. Perhaps the most useful part of this app for me as a teacher is the Search for Molecules toolbar, where anybody can plug in a certain molecule and the app will render the molecule utilizing its software. So you can type in the common name or the chemical name, which is going to be critical for the students to use because in my class for biology, they're going to have to identify the molecular compound of chemicals. Biochemistry is extremely difficult to teach, not only when you discuss the molecules, but the difficulty of actually portraying them visual and what they're made of. The great thing about this search engine is also when you type it in, it derives the chemical from PubChem. PubChem is basically the official chemistry compound database that contains validated chemical depictions to describe substances. So you can pretty much type in anything and it's going to give you some sort of molecular depiction of it. If you type in something as simple as DNA, you might get 8 or 10 hits because of the different forms that it takes. So after doing a quick search of glucose sugar, the rendering of the molecule looked like this, which is a very simple structured molecule maintaining covalent bonds between all of the elements. Now for students, as they see this, the challenge will be to then apply this knowledge looking at this molecule to what actually would be the chemical composition of glucose or sugar as we know it. So what I would do is I would challenge the students to utilize this app to not only say, okay, here is the molecule, now what is the chemical composition? What the students would then do is hit the palette, take a look at the color key, and go to count up each number of single atoms in the compound to build a chemical composition of sugar. So what students would now do is take a look at the visual representation of the molecule and try to figure out the chemical compound. So what we would do is we would start out with carbon, which is the gray ones right here, and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we would have C6. Then we would go to the white ones, which are hydrogen, and we would count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we would have to understand that this is 3 dimensions. There'd be 11 and 12. So C6, H12, and finally there are going to be these red guys right here, which are oxygen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So glucose or sugar is C6H12O6. Now, in the app, this whole molecule does spin if you hit this thing here. So, as it was a little difficult in my counting, you actually can tell as it spins, and it's a little bit easier to count all of the molecules. What students can now do is get immediate feedback by looking at the statistics of the molecule to see if they were correct with their chemical equation. So for glucose, which had 6 carbons and 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens, if you add those up, you get 24. Go check it, number of atoms, 24. Students would then know that they were on the right track. And obviously with a teacher there, they could show this to me in real time. They could be Apple TV, airplaying these renderings of molecules, trying to figure it out together. We could do them together in real time. So I think it would be a really useful app, though with some of them they are a little complex when you get into DNA and some of these larger molecules, but I think for the most part it could be extremely useful in the biochemistry unit for teaching simple molecules, simple chemical structures, and as I said, the number of molecules is pretty much limitless in PubChem, so as we progress to harder and harder chemical compounds, obviously we could utilize this app. In conclusion, I definitely give the Molecules app a thumbs up, especially if you have students who not only are unfamiliar with an iPad, that might be beginners utilizing apps since there's only those 3 or 4 commands. Also, if you have students who are not that familiar with biochemistry and need help identifying molecules, identifying elements, this is the perfect app to get them started for any biology teacher. Thanks.